Your boys are back in town from Indy here in Phoenix. It's your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast here on a football Monday. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is Bo Brack. It's PHNX Cardinals. Welcome, friends. Like this video fresh off the NFL Combine. I'm here with my dear co-host, Bo Brack, Damon Dog behind the mic. What a bolster of a show do we have for all of you here today.
Yeah, it's insane. It's an insane amount of content. I think people are actually going to like that. I know we say that often and we don't mean it, but we mean it this time. We're excited about this. We're stockpiled full of content. What's up, Phoenix Rising, Jason, Chase, Jess, who we're seeing all over the place because she's a brand new diehard. Loving having Jess and hearing her thoughts on the Cardinals here in the exclusive diehard chat. Cardinals Charles, what's going on? Emily, Jojo, Marcus, Hector. Whole gang's here. And if I missed your name, I apologize. I just can't say all 71 of your name to start the show off's name. But we appreciate each and every one of you. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And we're going to get into some great Cardinals conversation, along with our award-winning producer, Damon Dog.
We were not followed back from Indy by Big Dom. Damon is safe. He is with us. He has not been hurt. And yeah, we're ready to rock and roll. Damon, how are you living after Indy?
Did you see the Jason Kelce thing about Big Dom today, Johnny?
I did see that. I was curious of your take on it.
The life force of this organization.
The life source, that's right.
Unbelievable. I mean, it's so unbelievable. This guy has become the whole conversation of this entire organization. It's sad to see. You would think they would have a little bit more self-respect than that. You know what I mean?
They don't.
I mean, if a franchise icon is retiring and he's shouting out Paul Blart Mall Cop as far as his retirement speech in 35 minutes. I mean, he thanked everybody. It was as anything Jason Kelce does, it was epic. But yeah, I mean, we can't all, they're not all homers. And I think that for the most part, he knocked that retirement out of the park. But I'm with Damon. I don't understand the allure of Big Dom.
How about this, Richard? Hey, Johnny went out last night, celebrated my 19th wedding anniversary.
Yes.
Congratulations. I finished my 14-ounce steak. Well, JG would be proud of you, as he was ashamed to know me in that very moment. But congratulations, Richard. Congratulations to our team. Had a banner week, if you've been following along at the NFL Combine. A lot of good stuff. And we're going to keep those good vibes going today because we got an inkling over the weekend, traveling back to the great state of Arizona, that Christian Wilkins potentially would not be tagged, but nothing concrete, right? So Wilkins, a former first-round pick out of Clemson, good player, good to great player. Not an all-pro, but somebody that you would typically want on your team. He's only 28 years old. Now, the problem is Miami's got a lot of mouths to feed. They're poised to lose left guard Robert Hunt. They're losing a lot of their good to great players because they have to pay Tua. At some point, they have to pay Jalen Waddle. Well, it came out today, Bo Brack, that definitively, cut and dry, Ian Rappaport reported he's not being tagged. That Christian Wilkins suddenly becoming one of the top 5 to 7 free agents available will hit the open market this time next week, which means that he is fair game for a team like the Arizona Cardinals to say, how big of a check can we write to you to come save our defensive line?
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you, as an organization, you've shown progress, right? It seems like at the beginning of each year, they come out of the gate strong. Under Mike McDaniel, they've had a lot of success, but still haven't been able to break through that ceiling, right? But still, many of their players are going to be coveted in free agency. And as you've kind of been building around Tua and taking advantage of his rookie contract, you see guys that they've spent first-round picks on, guys they've drafted, developed, guys they've brought over via free agency and had gaudy contracts. And now that Tua is close to cashing in, I think that they're going to have to make some tough roster decisions. No longer do they have that luxury. And this is going to be, they're going to fall victim to this where they're going to have to allow some really talented players hit the market. And then it's up to, as far as the league, to decipher, okay, you know, who's going to overpay for him? And, you know, when you look at a guy like Christian Wilkins, he's going to have a robust market. I mean, when we listen to Jonathan Gannon, and I still am a little skeptical of what we're deeming premium positions, but what he deems a premium position, and he's a head coach of a football team, he says, you got your hand in the dirt, you're a premium player to me. And when you look at Christian Wilkins, Johnny, 6'4", 310, 10 tackles for a loss. You had 9 sacks and 16 quarterback hits last season. That's edge production from an interior defensive lineman. And he's going to get a big deal, and it's going to be really interesting to see if Monti Ossenfort's going to have his checkbook open and waiting there with a pen and listening to the deals and then trying to one-up them, because this is a guy that I think would immediately start to expedite and kickstart the rebuilding of this defense.
Do you know how many games he's missed in 3 years? Anybody want to take a guess? How many games has there it is. A big fat
zero.
Egg.
Yeah,
he is right. The anti-Jordan Phillips, toilet paper soft.
I think this guy played 80% of snaps as well. He's playing like he's never getting injured, and he's on the field a lot more than the typical defensive.
Where's my Desert Financial credit card? I need that, and we need to just hand it over to Christian Wilkins and say, do what you need to do. Amenities, whatever you need. There it is. Transaction of the day. Let's sign Christian Wilkins to whatever he wants. I just get to the ATM and just start pumping out funds. Because
what kind of funds are we going to need for that? Do we have that?
Well,
see what your Desert Financial
quick overdraft fee. I have to get on the phone and get the folks at Desert. Hey, can you waive that for me, please? Here's $60, Christian Wilkins. But no, in all seriousness, it's the move that has to be made. I texted somebody last night and this morning pertaining to the situation, and they told me point blank, I don't know if they're in or out, but they should be in. And if you parlay that with some of the comments that Gannon shared with us on air last week, it was very much of the mindset. They liked somebody, and that subsequent person they thought was going to be tagged as a result of the cap going up. Now, a lot of people have connected that to Christian Wilkins. You and I have talked off air. Maybe that's more Justin Matabuke, but who knows? They might have assumed that it was Christian Wilkins. Regardless, you got to play in this sandbox. Your defensive line is not good enough. It's not good enough even with a Jerzon Johnny Newton. Right? It's not good enough with Dante Stills. If you re-sign LJ Collier, you got to go out and get an alpha. You got to get somebody that can anchor this defensive line, and you have to pay for it. If you're going to overpay for it, then you're going to overpay for it. Like, I don't have a problem with that. He's 28. He just turned 28. You're going to give him a 4-year deal. Our guy, Brad Spielberger, PFF projects it to be a 4-year deal, $100 million, right? It's a big check for Michael Bidwell. But you assume of those 4 years, you get 2 great years, 28, 29, 30 starts to deteriorate. And then maybe at the back end, you cut him after his 3rd year or not. I mean, Justin Pugh played all 4 years of his deal. So it is the move that makes the most sense. But to your point, Bo, it's an uphill battle because of how many teams are going to pursue. I put this in my article, go PHNX.com, check it out. Supremely gifted defensive tackles rarely, if ever, make it to free agency. It does not happen. So now there's chum in the water, and the Sharks are going to be swimming.
That's right. That's right. Get after that delicious chum, but this is better than chum. This is Christian Wilkins. I think, could he be, Calais Campbell? If somebody like the Arizona Cardinals foolishly allowed Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell was, he hit that little checkpoint of 30, where, as you mentioned, Christian Wilkins turned 28 in December.
Ready.
Could he turn into the you remember way back when Steve Keim signed Jared Valdir and then Mike Apati, right? And it was like on the offensive line side, couldn't he be the defensive counterpoint to that? And under the Monti Ossenfort regime, I know we don't say Keim around here. It's a 4-letter word. But I think that, you've got Ossenfort coming from Tennessee. They've had Jeffrey Simmons there his entire tenure. That's an ass kicker on the defensive line. And then we know what JG likes as far as his rotation. He's got Fletcher Cox. He's got Jordan Davis. They added Ndamukong Suh. Like, they just had Javon Hargrave was in that. It's absurd, an embarrassment of riches that we've ever seen the NFL level. And you got to imagine this whole year is just like, who do we have? We don't have anybody. And I think they're tired of not having at least one name that they can hang their hat on the defensive line. And I think you need to kick off your offseason by getting somebody that immediately comes in and you add to that defensive line that's a bona fide game wrecker. Like, he's a guy that you get in, and then I don't think, and I said it on the Audio Only podcast last night, I don't think that it's the only addition that you make to the defensive line. You get Christian Wilkins, you couple him at this point with a Dante Stills and potentially Jonathan Ledbetter that you can bring back, who I think's restricted. And then you've got Roy Lopez there. You got bodies, but then you get to you get it to go into the draft with all those picks with a little bit of comfort knowing, okay, we've got enough bodies in here and definitely have the guy in Wilkins. But now, like, if we add a Byron Murphy II to Wilkins, like, man, what does that defensive line look like now?
Now you've reached the big leagues. Now you're back in the NFL hierarchy. I love this comment. Jalen Blair pointing this out. Helps that our D-line coach, Derek LeBlanc, was in Miami last year. We'll have good info on Wilkins, how he fits the scheme in the locker room. Absolutely. And by all accounts, everybody in Miami says he's a great guy. Was a part of those awesome ass-kicking Clemson defenses. Yes, along with Isaiah Simmons. And, has been in the NFL for 5 years.
ACC
what is that? Yeah, well, it's all right. Those teams were national contenders, so we put an asterisk on that, Damon. 5 years in the NFL.
There's no question what position Wilkins plays.
Right. He's not coming here to play tight end and defensive line and corner. He's got one shot to cash in. And I listen, we talked to JG about this. It's about money for most of these guys, right? Some guys are ring chasers and are looking for culture, and that's great. He's been in the NFL for 5 years, making first round money. Good. This is probably his only chance to cash in. I hope not. I hope he gets a third contract at some point. He is going to go to the team that pays him the most money. And if the Houston Texans are involved, that's a problem because there's no state tax. There's been no state tax in Miami. The Cardinals know infinitely if they want to sign this guy, they got to go above and beyond what other teams are doing. You got to get him in. You got to get him around Gannon. You got to get him around Nick Rallis. You got to say, hey, this is what we're building here. We want you to be a part of it. And this is what we think of you. This team's offering you $100 million. Here's $120 million. Here's $115 million. You're going to have to go with cherry on top to court these players because of the Cardinals' reputation to some, and then also the fact that, cost of living here is a little bit more expensive. So it's definitely possible. Will they have the gumption? Do they have the stomach to pull it off? They did it with Watt once upon a time, but that was a smaller deal, 3 years. This is a completely different ballpark than they played in recently.
Yeah, it's the sticker price. It's daunting. It really is. And I think that's what's really going to separate the true suitors from kind of the fake contenders, the pretenders out there for Wilkins services. Like, there's going to be New England that's going to have they're over $100 million in cap space. He's from Connecticut. Was that you, Damon, that was telling me that? He's a New England type guy, but he obviously chose to forego, staying home to go down to Clemson, and then was drafted by the Dolphins and stayed down there in the AFC East. So you're going to have it's going to be tight. I mean, you're going to be shoulder to shoulder. This is going to be. I would say that as of right now, half the league's in on a guy like Christian Wilkins.
But see, to your point with the Patriots, like the Patriots timeline, I don't think time's up with Christian Wilkins. Like, you're stripping it. They're where the Cardinals were last year. There was a report today. Adam Schefter said, the quarterbacks they're looking at? Jacoby Brissett and Joe Flacco to be sacrificial lambs for a year. That's what they're doing over there. So, like, I think the Cardinals are obviously in a better spot. They're you can go to Christian Wilkins and say, we get you. We think we're a playoff team with the other pieces we're going to add. Nobody else can. Patriots can't say that. So I think that maybe not half the league, at least a third of the league for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And look, I don't think that there's going to be a scheme fit issue, as I see that, in the chat, I think that he's a guy that can kind of play across the defensive line. And he's somebody that, like I said, you look at the numbers, the guy was productive, and he can be productive in mostly in any of the systems in the NFL. He's a good, solid football player that they're going to also be able to supplement with talent through the draft. And that's really what this is going to be about. I mean, that's what I think people are going to kind of turn into a misconception of the second year of the Monti Ossenfort roster building is he's going to spend money this offseason, but that's not how these rosters are going to be built. It's not how the structure of the Arizona Cardinals building is going to be built. It's going to be draft and develop. I mean, Gannon told us last year at the annual league meeting, he's like, teams don't win by building in free agency. They just don't. It just doesn't happen. Like, sure, you can get an anomaly. You can get a fluker in Steve Keim where he gets you to to the playoffs in 2021, but we saw that was a very flawed football team. And when it came down to it, when they played like real true contenders, they beat the shit out of them, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to draft and develop and really kind of build the organization and the roster correctly. That's going to be important. But I think that what Ossenfort and how he's kind of explained it and how their approach will be is the criteria is very small for them to go after and spend big money on a free agent. I think Christian Wilkins is one of those few that fits every bit of that criteria.
It's like Marvin Harrison Jr. that we're going to talk about later. Like you're presented with these options, and typically it goes against the grain of how you want a team build. But I do think, not to sound cliche, just it checks all your boxes. You're just like, okay, it is easily our worst position on the team. And it's a position that you can't necessarily go out and get a stalwart every offseason. And they're not going to take one in the top 10. So it's like, where's that person coming from? We talked about this on the audio-only podcast. I encourage everybody, go download it. It's available wherever you get your podcasts, on our website, gophnx.com. When the 49ers, the LA Rams, and the Seattle Seahawks wanted to say, you know what, screw this, we're going to line up in 12 personnel, 11 personnel, and hammer the ball at you, you can't stop it. And the Cardinals couldn't stop it. The Cardinals have two gifted safeties. They've got some developmental pieces that we like. But when opposing teams, like Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, their identity, they want to run the football. They have terrorized this franchise for half a decade doing that. If you don't want to get bent over and have that happen to you every Sunday by those two elite coaches, guys that are going to the Hall of Fame, you got to get serious on your defensive line. Yeah. And I'm sorry, and I love Dante Stills. Dante Stills and a couple of mid-rounders and a couple lower-tier free agents on the defensive line is not going to fix anything for you. Because the way that Gannon has his defense situated with Nick Rallis, you have undersized inside linebackers that fill off-ball guys, 5'11", 6'1", 6 foot, that are there to fly around and fill the hole, but the defensive line has to do the job. Yeah. They have nobody. Like, I like Dante Stills. Last year, you put too much on him. He's a complimentary piece. It's not fair to say, go be our number one defensive tackle. This is the one get-out-of-jail-free card for this franchise. You just look at Ossenfort if you're Jonathan Gannon and say, this is not how we do things. I understand it. I'm not going to do this every offseason. You have to get me this player. We have to go do this.
Christian Wilkins is the premium beef that even Johnny Venerable wouldn't cut into 100 pieces.
I'd eat it in one bite. I just take it right this, Christian Wilkins, and I eat it like a big piece of bread. I wouldn't cut it up. No. I wouldn't put any kind of steak sauce on it. We would go chalk, and I would just carry it around.
Just a little salt and pepper, and there you go.
Not even that.
All right.
Minimal seasoning. He's so elite, you need minimal seasoning. Let's get to some of these super chats here. Chaz, $4.99. Wilkins just wants to honor to walk with Johnny V to the bathroom and be in the guest book alongside Anthony Richardson. Easy work, JV. If the Cardinals need me, I will come down to the Tempe facility and use the restroom with Christian Wilkins. We have a conversation.
That's right.
Like many of the greats do.
It gets results. Johnny walking into the restroom or following you, whatever you want to call it. Deuce chime in with a $5 super chat. Ask not what your team can do to you. Ask what you can do for your team, JG. It's not going to be who, but what free agent can do for your team. Go Jobo. That's great. That's some nice JFK right there.
Yes, that was excellent. And I'm all for that, minus the defensive tackle. I want to go get a Froholt and a Kazir White 2.0, and I think they will. And you can let free agency come to you, except for the first couple days. Let's go out. They're going to get a left guard. We're going to talk about that. And now they have a special circumstance with Wilkins. I love this from Dana. $2 super chat. Chance of a tag and trade for a guy. I say no. Monti equals draft. I think, Dana, to your point, we're going to talk about this in a little bit. With what we saw on display in Indianapolis, this is not a year to trade picks for proven players. Last year, you got 2 first-rounders at the end of the first round. Go call up Carolina. Oh, we'll take Brian Burns. We'll do a pick swap there. Not this year. This year, blue chippers, elite, so many first-rounders, guys that are going to fall in the second round, guys at the top of day 2 and day 3 that are going to be underdrafted. This is the year you hoard your picks, and I think Ossenfort will.
Yeah, and I think they'd be more apt to do that up front, get the rush part instead of the cover part down. via free agency and be willing to spend the money in the early draft capital on the defensive front more so than they would on the back end and the defensive secondary. Like if Dana is asking about, chance of a tag and a trade, and I know we'll get more into the LJ Sneed conversation, but I just don't, there isn't a whole, like LJ Sneed was super productive last year, right? He was a big top performer for the champion Chiefs, where this guy allowed just like a 56 passer rating when he was targeted. He had 16 passes defense and he had the 2 picks. But, what's he doing if he doesn't have Chris Jones up there just game wrecking and running amok and blowing up his assignment, the guy that's trying to block him. I think that you much rather get the defensive front and spend most of your resources on kind of reestablishing that, rebuilding it, because I think JG has shown that he can take, below average to pedestrian secondary players and kind of elevate them by having a stout defensive front.
Braxton asking me, Johnny, do we trade a second? I'm guessing this year, pick 35, and a future third for a late first. I think Braxton, if a team is doing that trade, it's probably going to be for a third this year. The Cardinals have 3 thirds. I'll go on the record and say, I don't think they're going to make all those picks. I think the play is either you're pick 27, you want to go up for a tackle that you really like, or a DeJean Newton-esque player, which we know they've met with him a ton during the college football season. Mm-hmm. You take the Tennessee Titan third rounder, you take 27, and you go up 3 or 4 spots. Now, to your point, Braxton, I do think there's value, and we know Gannon knows there's value in this. Going from 35 to, let's say, 32, 31, 30 gives you that 5th-year option. And so if you want to say to ourselves, we're going to draft a defensive lineman at 27, and we're going to take a tackle right after that, you want those guys on 5-year deals. So I think it would be awesome, and I don't think it's out of the question that the Cardinals end the first round of the draft, Bo, with 3 first-rounders if they're all premium players, premium positions.
It just seems a little excessive to me. It's cool. It's cool to think about. Hey, having that.
Okay, bro.
It would be.
You don't think there's a chance that they pick a 27 and they come back into the first round? What? Of course they can.
No. They can. They absolutely can. Monti has self-service and he can call whoever he wants, and it's possible.
So dismissive of that.
No, come on. 2 first rounders is it's enough. And having sitting there knocking on the door at 35, that's fine as well. And trading down from 35, like they did last year from like 34 to 41, I just think like he's going to navigate it. 3 first rounders, that'd be awesome. It would.
What if you got Marvin Harrison Jr., Tyler Guyton, and DeJean Newton all as first rounders, all on 5-year deals?
Yeah, that's right. I figured out a way to get Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Bonds in the same outfield. It's just like that you're playing fantasy baseball.
That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is very realistic to happen. God, this show gives hope, but also this is an option for them. This is absolutely an option.
Yeah, this show gives hope, and I'm not going to look into the camera and say, okay, here's your way to date Sydney Sweeney. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. If you follow these steps, it's going to happen. You're going to be on a date, Sydney Sweeney or Chris Hemsworth. Okay, if you just follow these steps. No, I'm not going to be giving people false hope. But and it's not like I'm not discounting it either. You got 2 first rounders. You're going to get 2 blue chip prospects in a draft that features 25 first rounded graded players, and especially with people overspending for quarterbacks and what they could other positions that bad organizations will overspend for. Arizona Cardinals are going to be in a prime position to add 3 first round caliber players within their first 3 picks. They're not going to have to trade up or give any draft capital to get up the board to have 3 first round picks. It's a nice thought. I do. I'm not going to sit here and completely take a dump on it, but I think no, I'm not.
You're on the
I'm trying to nicely say that would be cool. I don't think it's going to happen.
You basically called me a loser and said I could never get Sydney Sweeney. That's what you said, and that's hurtful. What's not hurtful, we got some super chats. I'm going to read those in a second, but first I want to tell everybody about our friends at BetMGM. Bet 5, get 150 instantly. The Suns, they're on a downturn, but I'm going chalk. I'm going my parlay of the week. I'm going Suns. I'm going the over. I'm going the money line. You should too. Bet 5, get 150 with the bonus code PHNX. Tell them PHNX Cardinals sent you. You got to be a new customer, and you got to download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on your iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM BetMGM.com. So great that Damon Dog hosts our daily bet show. Shane Diefenbach probably trying to assert his will on that bet show. Damon, is that what's happening?
Shane's back. He hosted today's show. It's his child again.
Oh my God, you can tell the defeat in Damon Dog's voice.
I rented.
But we are not.
Look, Damon's he's gonna find his joy of betting again. It's no longer his occupation. It's now just love of the game, and I think I like that.
We were talking about that earlier, and I was saying that I kind of lost my love of the game doing the bet show, because like when you have a bad day, it really brings you down in the mud and makes you feel bad because you lost the people money.
Yeah,
and it hurts. And you've made a fool out of yourself in the process. And I think I'm ready to just settle in, put a 12-team parlay, college basketball together, and win some money.
Good Lord. Well, I can't relate to that. I can't relate to bad days, especially with our friends at BetMGM. Once you place your bet of at least $5 standard odds price, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your wager. You got to sign up with BetMGM. You got to use the bonus code PHNX. Get those $150 in additional winnings, regardless of the outcome. Check out the show notes for full details. And now, not the last time, Damon Dog is going to talk about it in the disclaimer.
Problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms. This promotional offer is not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
What am I talking about here? Is it Arizona Lottery? Is it the new promotion that they got going?
About how great it is to be a diehard. And this goes perfectly with Mitch Henderson's $9.99 super chat. Hey guys, just signed up as a diehard today. Wanted to watch the special interview you guys hyped up. How do I go to PHNX and Locked On Laugh Out Loud? How do I watch it on Go PHNX?
Said F Locked On. He said F Alex Clancy and Locked On.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I love it, Mitch. Welcome to the family. We can't wait to mix it up in the diehard exclusive chat. But only way to do that is sign up, become a diehard, and that's not just the access to the chat, and it's not just access to the entire website at gophnx.com. It's also you get a free T-shirt or a hat like the one that Johnny Venerable is wearing from the PHNX locker. One free each and every year. Don't want to miss out on that. Plus, you get it, early access to all of our events. Anything that we're going to be get going on this year, like including our draft party at Gila River Casino. You want to become a diehard because you're going to get that early bird access to it. Don't miss out. Don't waste any more time. Become a diehard today. Go PHNX.com. Get your gear as well. PHNXlocker.com.
And also, you want to be part of the diehard Discord. We did a live Q&A chat on Friday with the Discord. Had about 20, 25 peeps. Rapid fire. Ask whatever you want. No questions off limits. Plus, everything archived from the combine behind the scenes. It's posted in the Discord. So go check that out. I probably threw like 5 or 6 videos behind the scenes stuff you can't find anywhere else. And yeah, really probably we have a video like moments before we tracked down one Jonathan Gannon to secure what was our biggest interview to date. So again, can't get any of that unless you're a diehard. Go PHNX.com. Thank you so much for that kind super chat, by the way, my guy. Deuce is back. $2 super chat. Who is the guy Mo got excited for at the combine? That was Dallas Turner, linebacker, edge rusher from Alabama. A lot of people connecting the dots say, oh, yeah, Ossenfort is going to take him at 4. I read his reaction. Ossenfort just loves football. He's a football junkie. He was excited for Dallas Turner when he ran that 40 time. Now, if like a circumstance came through and Ossenfort somehow found himself with another top 10 pick or just outside the top 10, sure, they'd consider him. But there was people saying like, oh, Cardinals are going to take Dallas Turner 4th overall. Stop. Just stop.
It's absurd that a well-respected football reporter jumped to that conclusion. Can you imagine if Monti Ossenfort, like that was his true intention? Like, oh my God, he was so overcome by Dallas Turner running. What was it, a 4.46? It
was great. It was a great.
It was unbelievable what he ran. But you like. Monti Ossenfort can't keep. You think of all the GMs in the league, he can't keep himself composed, and he's just gonna show his hand so egregiously because he's doing the Shaq shimmy in his suite at Lucas Oil. Like that's so like he's so overcome with it. Like, come on, have you not seen or read or talked to Monti Ossenfort? You're like, there it is. That's right there. He's signaling Dallas Turner. He's gonna draft him 4th overall. Get out of here with Marvin Harrison Jr. He's going Dallas Turner. Did you not see him? He shimmied into the suite. Get out of here with that. Like that was an actual tweet. That was an actual thought that somebody thought, yep, there it is. That's all I needed.
That's the winner right there. Like this video. Let's get this to 300 likes. Jalen Blair, $2 super chat. Sneed for 35 or Lattimore post 6 1 for a 2025 fourth. Lattimore easily. I like Sneed a lot. I'm not giving up a top. I don't know if I'm doing anything beyond a day 3 trade for a veteran at this point with how deep this draft class is.
Yeah.
Because with both Sneed and then Lattimore, subsequently, you're either starting a new contract or you're taking on a big money contract. So in this case, Jalen Blair, Lattimore for a post 6-1 2025 4 is great.
It's going to be a long offseason in kind of concern about, hey, what are they going to do at the cornerback position? But yeah, that'd be legit. I agree with you. I take Lattimore. I think that Sneed, good player, absolutely, but he benefited from what the Chiefs did up front. And, I think that Lattimore could certainly do some similar things and cost less. I think that that's also going to be what you're going to find that you like so much about Monti Ossenfort. You're going to see all these big names, and it could just be similar with Christian Wilkins. Like we're talking about this big name where maybe Monti Ossenfort's got somebody a little bit under the radar and he's going to go after while the team's fighting over Christian Wilkins. Now, I say that after we debated Christian Wilkins and slobbered over him for 20-plus minutes, but it's going to be intriguing and fascinating to see how Monti Ossenfort really approaches this offseason where he said they're going to be active and they anticipate spending money.
And they emphasize that Michael Bidwell has equipped them with the necessary resources to do so. Leonard Williams is available. He's not being tagged. Like Leonard Williams is going to wait until Christian Wilkins signs his deal. I can tell you that. Corey the Steward, $2 super chat. Loved the vlogs last week. Thank you so much.
Yes.
The hard work of our guys, Shane Diefenbach and Damon Dog. Emergency pods for free agency. Confidently say yes. PHNX Cardinals in some way, shape, or form, Bo, will have emergency pods next week, assuming that there is news to report.
There's going to be news to report, and you can bet your sweet ass that it's going to be happening. Emergency pods, we're going to have them. Plus, we're going to have the normal shows. That's right. So if something happens earlier in the day, we're going to crack the mics. We're going to turn on the cameras, and we're going to be talking about the Arizona Cardinals, reported free agent edition Monday, Tuesday before free agency officially opens on Wednesday. So we're going to get into it for sure. So make sure you've got the alerts. Make sure you're subscribed to PHNX Sports here on YouTube because they're coming. They're going to come in a fast and furious just rate. And then those 4:30 shows are going to be loaded with more insight on that and more breakdowns of the Arizona Cardinals' latest editions.
Gann and I, back-to-back super chats. We got a super sticker, $1.99, then another super chat, $1.99. Guys, become a diehard. It's elite too. I think that's a perfect response. It is elite. And we're very thankful for the community that we're building there. We've got specials year round. I can tell you right now, it's like you want a piece of merch, it almost pays for itself, but then the content on top of that, it's tenfold. So if you're on the fence, if you have questions, Bo and I, our DMs are wide open. Had somebody over the weekend ask me specs for it overseas shipping. Just shoot us a message because we're, at the end of the day, we want people to be proud of their purchase, their membership. Mm-hmm. And so any hesitation, reach out and we'll get you saddled up. No F's given, $1.99. Any chance we can draft Cooper DeJean? Cooper DeJean and I locked eyes early in the week in Indianapolis. I asked him what it would be like to play with Budda Baker, and he was a big fan. Yeah. He's met with the Cardinals. And we asked, Gannon likes him. We brought up Cooper DeJean when we were chatting with Gannon off air. I would say, though, good chance Cooper DeJean is drafted before 27. So I think he's going to fall like a Dallas Turner and some of these defenders that we like. But I don't think they're going to be an option. I think they're going to go too early.
I'm trying to think about where I have Cooper DeJean ranked as far as my corners after this weekend. I really like Terrion Arnold, and I really like Quinyon Mitchell a lot more than Cooper DeJean. And I'm curious what the Cardinals, what they view Cooper DeJean as, and what it would mean to the roster if they took a player like DeJean. Do they view him playing primarily outside? Because that's where, if you look at the defensive secondary, what they really need, unless they're thinking of Cooper DeJean with an eye down the road, is he going to play, slot corner? Is he going to play safety? Can he play outside corner consistently throughout his career? But DeJean Terrion Arnold, from what, somebody was telling us that he had was it Trevor Sikkema that said Arnold had just kind of an ongoing competition with his Alabama teammates who could get to the facility early enough. He was getting there at 3:30 in the morning. He's at the combine after his performance. He's doing a love letter to his mom, just expressing his gratitude to her. It just seems like a Cardinal, man. Like he just fits he loves ball. He loves, his family. I think, and then he's got the skill set to do it. I mean, you look at his stats from Bama, he was unreal. And then what Quinyon Mitchell has shown between the Senior Bowl and then running a 4.33, competitive as hell out of Toledo. I mean, those are two guys I got ahead of DeJean.
I agree with you. And I saw somebody today say Quinyon Mitchell's got top 10 hype. I don't know about that, but I certainly think top 15 for sure. Back-to-back super chats. You guys are so gracious. Let's start with topic 64, friend of the program, $4.99. Marvin Harrison Jr., Greg Dortch, Rondell Moore, Michael Wilson feel like we need one more receiver either in the free agency pool or later in the draft. I think they could add two more. I think they could go veteran, and I think they could go mid-late round receiver. I think that would be the perfect kind of encapsulation. You go and get a Josh Reynolds on a 1 to 2 year flyer that I think if they dabble, they're going to dabble in the Zach Pascal, same kind of realm. And then with the receivers aplenty, if there's a 4th round, a 5th round receiver you love, I think that's absolutely in play, Bo. So again,
who's going to get their hands dirty? Who's going to be the free agent that you look at the passing or the receiving statistic, but who's the guy that likes to mix it up and block, and who's willing to play teams? I think that's what you're going to have to kind of seek out as a depth piece, because they're going to look to the draft to kind of fill the need the void that would be filled by Hollywood Brown leaving via free agency.
Also, we sure Rondell Moore's on the team in like 6 months. We'll see. Ray Fram, so generous, 19.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Ray. If no Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4, would you trade down, go tackle, or draft a Dunze? Well, Ray, perfect transition to our next topic of the day, which is, of course, our sweet baby Marv. Albert Breer took to Sports Illustrated this morning to report what he had been hearing as it relates to Marvin Harrison Jr. This is an excerpt saying, right now, I'd put him down in pencil. Bo, use that expression like last night on our audio-only podcast. I thought you wrote this for a second. As the 4th pick to the Cardinals, one former colleague of Ossenfort told me that Harrison is a wheelhouse sort of prospect for the Cardinals GM, the way Harrison's ex-teammate, Paris Johnson Jr. was last year. Both are very clean character-wise and a height, weight, speed domino. Maybe Harrison goes before the Cardinals. He won't. I have a hard time seeing him get past the Cardinals. I agree with this. I'm very much of the mindset right now that despite their openness, and they have an openness, they have an interest in potentially garnering a trade market, I still think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the pick. But to answer Ray's question, give you some insight that I shared at gophnx.com, which is the article is 100% free. It's unlocked. Go check it out. The Cardinals, my understanding is, will not be in on Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze. Things can change in 2 months, but as of right now in early March, if you see mock drafts, people speculating, go get a Rome, go get a Malik. The Cardinals are going to take an offensive tackle if they don't take Marvin Harrison Jr. They're going to take Joe Alt or they're going to take Fuaga. That's my belief right now. So you're weighing, if you're Ossenfort and Gannon, we're going to take a generational prospect at receiver, but if the Giants call us on the phone tomorrow and they say, we're ready to make a trade for the 4th pick and we're going to give you 6, we're going to give you a 2, and then we're either going to give you a 1 or a 2 next year so we can take J.J. McCarthy, they're going to have to consider that. And if that happens, they're either going to take Joe Alt or Fuaga. They're not going to take Rome Odunze. They're not going to take Malik Neighbors. I believe that that's what's going to happen. I
think that's an incredibly important distinction that you're only going to hear here, right? Because you got people all around just saying, and including Daniel Jeremiah, who is one of the most dialed in draft experts, analysts out there, who's saying, hey, you got to take one of these 3 receivers. It's like, well, that's not the franchise's philosophy. The one guy that they're going to make the exception for is Marvin Harrison Jr. It's 18 out of Ohio State. And because of the things that Albert Breer outlined via people who have worked close with Monti Ossenfort and what he deems important and how he matches with Paris Johnson Jr. And a lot of things that were said in that echoed, PJJ's comments from what I heard throughout the year. It's, the hard working, you would never assume that this was, some former player's kid. I mean, this is a guy that's scratching and clawing like he's Rudy Rudiger and not Marvin Harrison Jr. It's unbelievable. So you like that. And also, like, when you look at the prospect that probably matches Paris Johnson Jr. next best in this draft, if not maybe the best, it's Joe Alt. I mean, with the elite size and athleticism, and then you look at maybe where is he the perfect offensive line prospect? No, but neither was Paris Johnson Jr. And you saw once the Cardinals got their hands on him, they were completely just blown away by him and loved the pick even more so.
Conversation continues here on the show. And in the meantime, check us out. Circle K, become a part of the inner circle today. I am Bo, Damon Dog. How about Michael Wilson? He's in on the inner circle with Circle K. It's America's thirst stop. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Save 3 cents per gallon every single day. Every 6 free selection, pizza, coffee, ice cold fountain drinks, and more. Join the inner circle today for free by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details. Joe Alt, to me, is a tier below Marvin Harrison Jr. firmly. I don't think he is Penei Sewell, but I think he's an 8 to 10 year left tackle, and they would love that. They would love that.
What if he's Paris Johnson Jr. 2.0, and you got two of those guys?
We'd love that as well.
You're set,
then
right?
You're happy because then you have to make the most of the second and the additional pick that you get for him.
Yeah,
you have to be able to say, I mean, shit, guys. If they, and this, I'm not pro doing this. I would take Marvin Harrison Jr. But if you get Joe Alt at 6, you get the Giants have 2 2s, by the way. They have 2 number 2s. So let's say you get another top 40 picks, and then you have 35 and another one, and then you get their first next year or even their second next year.
Mm-hmm.
And those are not only starters, those are Pro Bowl level players that you have an opportunity to draft.
Right.
So, but
and who they're coming up to get. It's like,
right.
I don't think you're going to have any fear. It's not CJ Stroud of this draft. It's JJ McCarthy. It's QB4 potentially that this team's trading up for. Like you're not going to, like, you're going to be in a pretty good spot. This is not going to be a draft pick that just continues to plummet. Like, is he going to be a good player down the road? Sure. But I'm a little skeptical that he's going to come out and light the world on fire year one.
Giordano, I'm with you. I would take both their 2s this year. I would say, give me both your 2s. We're going to have 3 2s and we're going to have 3 3s and we're going to dominate. Now, I think then it would become imperative that you would take 27 and you would have to move up for a receiver. You would have to be in a position where you would have to go up and get whomever they deemed worthy.
Yeah.
Because I would not feel good if they took Joe Alt and at 27 they took Darius Robinson, who I love, and they were sitting here on day 2 and they don't have any wideouts yet. Now, some people can emerge. It's a deep class, but you're basically telling everybody, which we've heard through the tea leaves, that they're strongly considering, like, this is how they're going to build their team.
Mm-hmm.
They want to maul people. They want to wear people down. They want to be known as the organization that at the end of the day can go shot for shot with some of the most physical teams in the NFL. They believe, and it was on display this year, Bo, that travels well. That supports Kyler Murray and the fact that he's undersized, he's missed time. So I want them to build the team like this. But what I'm asking them, please, just consider take Marvin and then defer to that. Nothing says you still can't do that, even if you take Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We got derailed from me telling people about Arizona Lottery and their new promotion, AZAdventure.com. I mean, look, it's unbelievable. It's a freight train from hell, this conversation for the draft. $1 million in cash prizes and travel prizes, AZAdventure.com. You got 3 different ways you can win. And one is to just get a lottery ticket from Arizona Lottery. It's 3 iconic landscapes, Picacho Peak, Monument Valley, and Camelback Mountain. Those tickets, you can win up to $50,000. You can also check in geolocated adventures, 10 destinations across the state from Flagstaff to my beloved Yuma. Check out azadventure.com for details and directions. You check in with the destination coordinates on the website, enter tickets online. You can get a chance to win $1 million cash and Arizona travel prizes. Arizona Lottery is not just about playing games and winning prizes. It's about giving back to the state and its communities. Visit azadventure.com for more information how you can take an adventure for a chance to win $1 million in cash in Arizona travel prizes.
What about the Phoenix Raceway? The Valley of the Sun will roar to life this spring when NASCAR returns to the Phoenix Raceway. How about this? In just a couple of days, March 8th through the 10th, it's the best-in-class fan experience meets racing's toughest drivers for 3 days of action, all surrounded by beautiful Estrella Mountains. Spring break
Estrella.
at Phoenix. What did I say?
Estrella.
What did I say?
Estrella.
Australia?
Yeah.
You know what I meant. Spring break at Phoenix Raceway is the perfect introduction to NASCAR. We're still getting our bearings about us, man. I'm jet lagged. With affordable ticket pricing for families, whether you're a diehard racing fan or simply looking for a fantastic day out, which it is, this event promises fun for everyone, from live entertainment, fan hospitality areas, and get this, an immersive experience. Get your tickets right now. The Shriners Children 500 at Phoenix Raceway. Again, March 8th to the 10th. Promises to be a weekend. Great vibes for the whole family. Check them out. PhoenixRaceway.com. We got a
full disclosure there. I've thrown Johnny off all show with our ad reads. It's been a cluster F as far as when we were supposed to read, and I threw him off there.
May or may not have been your read, but that's
I thought I was supposed to. I thought AZ Lottery was after your read before, and it's boring stuff that nobody gives a crap about. But
I just maybe do your homework. That's what JG would say to you. I'm just kidding. Dude's $2 super chat. You know I got to do it. Tune QB2
Tune Squad.
Clayton Tune. This podcast told you before anybody else they were going to roll with Clayton Tune as QB2, and then you hear reports now about Jacoby Brissett potentially going to New England. That should tell you Cardinals aren't playing in that sandbox. They're not going after Gardner Minshew. They're not going after Joe Flacco, Jacoby Brissett. They could do a draft pick, but it's going to be a Jeff Driscoll type that backs up Clayton Tune that can come in. I spoke with somebody within the last 14 days. They told me both definitively, we loved what we saw from Clayton Tune. We think this guy can be a 10-year backup in the NFL, that he can help us. Kyler Murray and Clayton Tune get along well. They are going all in. Now, if he has a disastrous camp, if his offseason isn't good, which nobody projects, then they could dabble. But I think Clayton Tune, I can't wait to watch preseason football with Clayton Tune. I think he's going to cook.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're expecting second-year jumps from the entire roster, and Clayton Tune's one of those guys that needs to make a jump and kind of reward his coaching staff and his front office for, believing in him, right? I mean, this is a guy that they basically gave backup quarterback duties the entire year as a fifth rounder out of Houston, a non-Power 5 school, and he had his one true opportunity, and it looked awful, but this is an organization that believes in him and thinks he does have the makeup to be a rock solid backup for, as you mentioned, the next 10 years. So there you go.
So we talked a little bit. I do want to bring this up. Our buddy Brad Spielberger of PFF does project, and he's spot on. Brad knows the shit. Christian Wilkins is going to get $100 million and almost $70 million guaranteed. I mean, that can they cut that kind of check? They can. But that right now, PFF, I mean, this isn't a guess. Brad knows what he's doing. How about this, though? Cardinals know what they're doing here. Bo, the belief is a second-round pick could get it done for a Super Bowl winning cornerback.
Yeah, we talked about it. And, I thought that this or that, question in the super chat, would you rather have L'Jarius Sneed for a second or maybe spend a day 3 pick potentially to get a guy like Marshawn Lattimore? And maybe that might be thinking realistically, but I think it's possible. I think if they're going to spend big money on a defensive front player, whether it's, Wilkins or they look to the edge, I think that they're going to have to get creative as far as how they get a veteran cornerback on this roster. So it would probably be utilizing some of that draft capital and parlaying that into a vet corner. But, it's not as, when people heard that Sneed was going to become available once tagged, I think people immediately pointed to the end of the first round potentially, and that's just too rich. And the Chiefs are realizing that, and, maybe it just becomes a day 2 pick when it's all said and done, maybe one of those thirds, and that becomes a little bit easier too, as Cardinals fans. But also he wants multiple years.
Yeah.
So, he's 27. He had a great year. And if you're paying him $16 to $17, $18 million a season, it might be worth it. But still, my biggest concern is you got to be able to rush and then in cover, rush and cover and rush. I think the defensive front still desperately needs to be rebuilt, and that should be emphasized over a corner.
Love this from Brian. Gannon elevates corners. Give me the draft pick and pass on Sneed.
Yeah.
I totally agree. You got to get the big heavies up front, and you spend money on Christian. Well, it would be backwards to do Sneed before a defensive tackle. I think pay some big heavies in free agency, draft some early, and then get some developmental guys. Garrett Williams last year was a mid-rounder, a third-rounder. Look good. It's going to start for them. Just do that once a year. You'll be all right. They got two supremely gifted safeties. I'm going to tell you right now, and I said this last night, I have never been more confident that Marvin's going to be there for the Cardinals at pick 4. It's funny, though, how the narrative has changed from will he get past the Patriots? Because there was not one person that I talked to on camera or behind the scenes in Indy that thought the Patriots were going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. It didn't even come up in conversation. Will they take a QB or will they trade down and get more resources? Those were the conversations. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be there for the Cardinals at pick 4. And these next 2 months are about vetting the process, the person, making sure everything is done top to bottom, that he is your pick above all else. But we're going to get to a point when the clock strikes Cardinals pick 4, MHJ from Ohio State is going to be available to draft, which is it's mind-blowing. And I think we got to build a Prater statue. We also have to thank Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Caleb Williams, JJ McCarthy. If this is the Kenny Pickett draft, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going first overall.
Oh man. Yeah, no doubt about it. That, and sometimes better lucky than good. And sometimes, as you were a little fearful as you started to look at the draft dominoes back in late December, and you're like, oh man, the Philly win just torpedoed your chance of doing that. It's not necessarily the case. You did need the proper things to happen. And this pre-draft process is a monster, especially for quarterback hungry teams. And you see guys each and every year like Anthony Richardson just take off like a rocket. And the Cardinals benefited from 3 guys already being in conversation, and then JJ McCarthy being a part of that national championship game and being somewhat of a polarizing prospect, but being able to check off a couple of the boxes and concerns of teams evaluating. I mean, Diana Rossini of The Athletic, she was on the Athletic football podcast, and she said 1, 2, 3, 4 as far as the quarterbacks go. But the Cardinals are the one that can really kind of disrupt, what other, general managers are talking about around the league. It's going to come down to what Monti Ossenfort deems the best way to maximize the 4th overall pick.
I just have a hard time believing if you're the Giants or somebody in striking distance, the Chargers want to trade down. They're making it known. You don't have to do a deal with the Cardinals because you know that the Chargers are available. The Cardinals aren't going to take a quarterback. I don't think the package is going to be as good as people perceive it to be. I think if you're some of these QB needy teams, unless you're worried about being jumped for a guy, that's the only thing. If you're the Giants and you're thinking the Raiders are going to come up, but I don't think the Cardinals are trading out of the top 10 if they trade out. You're watering this down too much.
It would absolutely water it down. I mean, it's certainly a draft that you could do it and you could still build a really rock solid roster, but you're passing on players that have been tabbed, and sometimes it's thrown around far too cavalier, generational, right? Yeah. I mean, at some point, you need to cash in, and there's no point. I see people joking about teams that traded up future draft capital last season and they're disappointed this year that they can't participate as much in this draft because this is the draft with blue chip prospects. And if you're getting future capital, fine. If you're getting more capital for this draft and in the first round, then maybe, but there's not a lot of teams that can do that. I think that Monti Ossenfort, when he says he's going to risk or he's going to weigh the risk reward to it, if you pass on that player, you better be within striking distance for another top of the line player, because otherwise just getting, a starter caliber player and then all that draft capital, at some point you need to cash in and get those big time players.
Especially that we know they want to tackle outside of Marvin. And it's just What happens if Joe Alt goes to the Chargers at 5?
Yeah.
And you're sitting there at pick 6. Are you going to take Fuaga at 6? Maybe. We know unequivocally he was not in the business of just hoarding picks last year because he went up and got Paris from 13 to 6. And it cost him. It cost him significantly. They had to give up a top pick in the second round. So much good content today. Like this video, Bo Brock. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube and subscribe to PHNX Cardinals wherever you get your podcast, my friend.
That's right. Maybe I'll throw this out. By the way, we're going to do our first 7-round mock draft. When do we want to do that? Tomorrow or Wednesday?
Tomorrow.
7 rounds. We're going to go full 7 rounds, mock drafting each and every one of the Arizona Cardinals picks. Is Johnny going to go rogue? Is he going to shoot from the hip? Is he going to make the decisions for Damon and myself in the chat? Probably. It's going to be Johnny. It's Johnny's show, for God's sake. So that's going down. And also
it's this fanboy show.
On this a little bit as we leave you. The Raiders reportedly want to get up as high as 5. Is that high enough for them to get one of these quarterbacks? And what do the Cardinals do if they're sandwiched between, all those quarterback needy teams? Do they maybe trade down the 6 and still get rewarded with a player like Marvin Harrison Jr.? Is it too iffy? We'll get into that debate tomorrow. Debate always continues in the member Discord. Become a diehard today. For Johnny Venerable, Damon Dog, I'm Bo Brock. Talk to you tomorrow. PHNX Cards.
We all silly like the mayor.